So I remember it like it was yesterday, albeit it was 4 years ago now. And the selection process I had done twice, so I knew what to expect as far as what the day was going to look like. But what I was not prepared for at all is what it was going to feel like to be told that I was going to be part of all of this and the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight, and to one day be stood where I am now as the officer commanding. And to say that it was an emotionally charged couple of minutes in the station commander's office that I will never forget. I describe it quite often like a lottery win. I guess you don't know how to react. It was something that I never thought would happen. I guess I've always been that it'll never happen to me type of approach. It was disbelief, excitement. It was every emotion all rolled into one. The Typhoon, certainly when I started, the F-35 was still in the offing, but wasn't part of the frontline capability of the Royal Air Force. So pretty much I was flying the Air Force's latest and greatest. Having previously flown the Tornado F3, to flying a single-seat fighter that had a multi-role capability was something I'd always wanted to do. Clearly air-to-air was my background with the Tornado F3, but I'd not really even scratched the surface when it came to air-to-ground, and I was lucky enough to fly in that role in Syria and Iraq and actually take the Typhoon to do the job that it was designed to do. So I felt that in my 10 years or so on the Typhoon, I'd kind of, I guess, flown her at the real pinnacle of what she could achieve, and since I've left, she's continued to grow in terms of capability as she's taken over from the Tornado GR4. And then, of course, I go back to 80 years ago and flying what was then the pinnacle of Air Force capability, which was, of course, the Hurricanes and the Spitfire, which in their day were revolutionary. Of course, before the aircraft behind me, it was biplanes with fixed undercarriage, with fixed props, and what a revolutionary step forward it was to have retractable undercarriage, the equally as famous Merlin engine V12, the armament that she has, and of course it's a monowing and a monocoque design as well. So a real leap forward. So I guess a real privilege to have flown here and now the latest and greatest that the Air Force has to offer, but to also get a look back and see what the cutting edge was 80 years ago, and she's still cutting edge now in terms of a single engine piston aircraft. Very, very impressive. So our training starts in the de Havilland Chipmunk. The reason we start in the Chipmunk is to learn initially to fly and most importantly land a tailwheel configuration aircraft, so a conventional undercarriage as it was known, and that does present an awful lot of challenges. And of course, having come from the Typhoon, which is a fly-by-wire, very much a computer and software driven aircraft, to go back to raw flying skills. And albeit they're elementary flying skills, for someone like myself with some 3,500 hours of fast jet, it was almost like learning how to fly again. No computers to help you. It is very much man-machine interface, and she humbles us all, does the Chipmunk, but it gives you that feel of getting back to raw flying and handling a tail dragger aircraft. So from the Chipmunk, after you've done some 30 hours, initially in the front and then in the back seat, we then step onto the Harvard, which was exactly the same trainer that was used back in the 1940s before those brave men went off to fly in the Hurricane and the Spitfires for real. The reason we go to the Harvard is it's the last two-seat aircraft, so the last chance we have to actually fly with an instructor before being let loose on our own. You'll notice that none of our fighters are two-seat, so we don't have a training aircraft. And it gives you a feel of a big warbird, so it's a big radial engine. The cockpit is busy, nothing's in the right place. And it is really that kind of go-between from a very light aircraft that the Chipmunk is to something more akin to the size and handling of the Hurricane. And then it's the big day, and the day you've been looking forward to, but also in a funny way dreading, and that is your first flight in a Hurricane. And the Hurricane that I first flew is the one that you might be able to see behind me, which was the last of the many, the last Hurricane ever made, the lovely PZ-865. So a sleepless night, to say the least, and probably an hour of flying where I don't think my heart rate probably went below 200. It was a real assault on the senses, I think is how we describe it. You don't know what to expect. You're flying a priceless part of our nation's heritage. And if I'm honest, not a trip that I particularly enjoyed. I think the nerves overtake the enjoyment and the sheer privilege of flying the Hurricane. But that enjoyment does come where you then have the unknown kind of removed. You know what to expect, and it's those subsequent trips where really I started to enjoy and appreciate the aircraft that I was actually flying. So we always get asked which is our favourite, and the answer that we always give is it's like picking a favourite child. We're not allowed to do it. You know, they are all my favourites. I guess if I had to answer and give you an aircraft, really it was where the journey began. So the lovely Hurricane PZ865, she was my first. I hope she'll be my last when I finish on the Battle of Britain Memorial flight. She looked after me in my first season, so I've got a very close affinity to the Hurricane and specifically PZ. So what I'm really keen to do this year is kind of get back to business as usual and maybe show the public things that haven't been done by BBMF either before or certainly not in recent history. So we're looking to do something new with the Singleton Spitfire display. Same manoeuvres, just flown maybe a little bit more dynamically and put together in a different sequence to offer something a little bit different. And also to put some of our aircraft against some of the newer aircraft that the Air Force has. The ones that you can probably hear in the background now, to do a little bit of mixed formation work with the new and the old, just to give something a little bit new and really just to sort of put us back and really celebrate us coming back to business as usual and hopefully putting the trauma that was COVID behind us all. But if you want to be a part of this incredible journey and be part of the mission that we take seriously here on the Battle of Britain Memorial flight, then we're on all forms of social media, so Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, if you want to follow our journey and get a little bit of behind the scenes. But if you want to be a part of the official club, we do have a club that you can find online, which again they provide direct support to BBMF, and you get a little bit more of the behind the scenes of what we're doing and what it actually takes to put these magnificent aircraft up in the skies over the summer months in front of the public. And there's also, of course, the Lincolnshire-Lancaster Association, who over the years have provided us with a huge amount of financial support, without which we would not be in as good a shape as we are now. So we owe a huge thank you to a lot of people who follow us, support us through the Links-Lang Association and the official club, and of course to all of those who share and enjoy our message across all of social media.
Well, on selection to become the next Sengo on the Battle of Britain Memorial flight, I was really quite excited and quite honoured to be able to be the senior engineer in charge of these magnificent historic aircraft, and the privilege of being given that responsibility was quite humbling, really. Behind me you'll see our Lancaster B1 bomber. We're one of only two flying Lancasters left flying in the world, over 7,000 made, the star of our show and the biggest aircraft we've got here on the BBMF. To work on what is arguably the most iconic aircraft, not only in the RAF but arguably the world, is an immense privilege. To know that you're keeping that historic asset airworthy and to be seen by the public throughout the country is a really great feeling. On the flight we've got obviously the Lancaster bomber you can see behind me. We've got a Dakota, which we use for training our bomber crews and also did planes, so that's a transport aircraft. We've got 6 Spitfires, ranging from a Mark II, which flew in the Battle of Britain, up the way to 2 Mark 19 Spitfires, which are the Griffin engine models. We've got 2 Hurricanes, the last one in RAF service and the last one manufactured. And we've also got 2 Chipmunk training aircraft from the 1950s, which are used for training for our new pilots and to keep our pilots current.